Hi, this is Gil Cargill. Thanks so much for your investment in our lead generation training kit. In the next 40 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you how to use this kit to get more new sales-ready leads to develop your practice. Let's get going. During the past 38 years, I've worked with thousands of VARs, resellers, IT consultants, you name it, and I believe most of us are looking for leads in all of the wrong places. I'm going to show you how to find leads and turn them into sales-ready leads. Now, you're going to hear that phrase quite a bit during this presentation because there's a world of difference between a list that you can buy from a list broker, an inquiry, someone that comes by your website, and the thing you really want, which is a sales-ready lead. Now, be prepared to do some work. And I want you to watch this video several times so you can make sure you get all of the concepts. My goal for this program is to help you to compete for more decisions. You see, my experience is, regardless of where you're actually selling, there are more decisions being made every day by men and women who want to improve the operating conditions of their businesses than there are decisions being made by men and women to find a new IT consultant. That's right, when you compete against the other guy, the bad IT guy, if you will, you're competing for a very small subset of the entire market. I'm going to show you how to compete for the entire market because I want to position you, or rather I want to help to position you as a trusted advisor that can produce measurable, permanent improvements in your client's business operating conditions. I want you to compete for all decisions in all of the accounts, all of the time. I'm going to show you how to manage this lead generation program with precision so you're never caught flat-footed. You never have to hope you'll get a new sale. You'll always have a flow of sales-ready leads that exceeds the requirements of your business and your personal financial plans. I'm going to show you how to correlate activity to results and eliminate the surprises that come about as a result of inconsistent prospecting and, or even worse, passive prospecting, where you're waiting for someone to call you. Now, I'm going to use a word that many of us don't like to hear, but you need to really confront yourself with this. I see most MSPs as being men and women that I encounter and I call soulpreneurs. You are a seller and a doer. The more you sell, the less time you have available to sell more. And if you're a seller-doer, the one thing that's frequently missing from your life, based on my experience, is accountability. You have no boss. So the accountability is there in terms of making sure your client's machinery is working, their network's working, the PCs are working, but where's the accountability for lead development? Without good leads, you won't be in business for very long. Our number one goal of this entire program is to fill your funnel and keep it full. We're going to talk about building a better database. I'm going to help you use the tools that are in the kit to create a closed-loop marketing system, whether you use TigerPaw, ConnectWise, or AutoTask. It doesn't matter. We'll talk a little bit about copywriting, but we're going to show you how to enhance the effectiveness from a lead generation point of view of your website. We're going to talk about pay-per-click, we're going to talk about AdWords, SEO, and most importantly, what are you offering your market in exchange for some of their time and some of their attention. Now, the number one reason for sales failure is we're not there when the prospects want to buy. And that's almost a duh, but nonetheless, it is the truth. If you competed for every decision in your market, you'd be one very happy MSP or IT consultant. The key is to compete more often. So many of us have spent a lot of energy trying to become far better salespeople than we are, and that's okay. But the real focus is, let's compete more often, let's get to know more people, and then sales will go up. As one of my bosses said way back in the early days of my selling career, Gil, it's not how many people you know that counts. What counts is how many people know you. And our job is to get your name in front of the largest number of people as possible and keep it there and help those people understand that in reality you and your team are trusted advisors that can produce permanent improvements in one or more of their business's operating conditions. Now let me review what's in the kit because I want you to be very familiar with everything we just shipped you. Number one is a customer level presentation. I recorded this presentation in a generic fashion So you can put it on your website. You can send out links to it, but it's designed to move someone from the position of, I'm pretty comfortable operating my business the way I'm operating it, to, man, I don't know whether or not I should continue operating this way. And when they start questioning their status quo, that's when I want you to follow up and go get a new client. It's deliberately designed to make them uncomfortable with circumstances that currently they probably feel are pretty normal. And that's only because circumstances are there every day. You've got a copy of our key frustration questionnaire included in the kit. Feel free to reproduce that as many times as possible. I'll talk more about it later, but this is one of the best ways I've ever developed to walk through a first meeting with a new client. It is designed to surface their pain vis-a-vis the status quo and make it easy for you to say, I can fix that. And assuming if I could fix that, would you pay me? And would you pay me again and again? And that's where we want to get to. You also have sales scripts, you have a training video, which you're watching right now, and a sample proposal. So everything you need to go introduce the concept of pre-sale assessments to your marketplace, perpetually deliver that concept as a recorded webinar, and then follow through with face-to-face meetings is in this kit. Now, the most important component of your kit is the done-for-you presentation. Now, this presentation is designed to be viewed by business owners, stakeholders, senior executives of small and medium businesses. It's designed to help them understand that although up until viewing that presentation, they were relatively comfortable with the status quo as it pertains to their IT infrastructure, during the course of the presentation, I will make them uncomfortable, at least uncomfortable enough to want to talk to you about doing an assessment or an audit. Now, the key here is that we're going to position this as a tool for them to learn. I want you to understand that the more times per day or per week or per month that this presentation is viewed by people in your market, the better your future will be. The title of the presentation is Boost Your Profits with Outsourced IT. Now, I've deliberately avoided using the term MSP because I don't think many civilians understand that term. Now, I refer to men and women who don't have your technological skill as civilians. They just don't understand the jargon, the terminology, the concepts. Consequently, this is aimed at civilians to help them make a decision to bring you into their life with a goal of you selling them an assessment. Now, whether you charge for the assessment or not, it's up to you, because the presentation doesn't mention price, but it does mention the fact that they need to talk to the IT consultant that sent them the link that allowed them to view the presentation. Now, I want you to paste that link everywhere. That link should go on the bottom of every email that you send out. It should be on your website. It should be part of the promotion that you make regularly. If you send out a newsletter, put the link in there. You never know who will click the link, and once they click it and fill out the form fill, then they are part of your database. Now, the presentation is designed to build concern regarding the status quo. I do not quote a price in there at all, and I don't infer that they have to pay for it, nor do I infer that it's free. It's just, here it is. It sells the assessment as an X-ray of their IT system, and there's no branding, so you have to wrap your brand around the presentation. Now, the key to this entire program is on your screen. It's very simple. Compete more and you'll win more. So our job is to get you into more decisions. The big question is, if you don't change any of your activities, either quantitatively or qualitatively, where will you be at the end of the year? I want you to make sure that the change you commit to is sending out invitations to get people to view the Done For You webinar. I want you to make sure that you make a commitment, if possible, to get someone on the phone to invite people to come to the webinar. Now, what I'm advocating and what I'm about to train you to do is not voodoo, but it is work. It must be done consistently. It's mandatory that you do it consistently. And one of the things that I've found that perplexes a lot of technical minds is that marketing is not linear. It's not rational. Some months you can do everything correctly and get no leads. The next month you do exactly the same thing and you're overwhelmed with leads. The key is never stop doing your marketing. I encourage you to build a marketing plan and have a theme for every month. And this is the best way to grow. Okay, enough of the background. It's now time to prepare to be successful. The first thing I want you to do is to build a plan. Where do you want to be 12 months from now, 3 years from now? Now, if you don't have a plan, I encourage you to go to a website called 60 MSP, 60-Minute Strategic Plan. So that's number 6, number 0, MSP.com, and follow their template, and that will help you develop a strategic plan. One of the things that I believe is that if you have no plan, de facto, you have planned to fail. With a plan, at least you'll be able to know where you're on course or off course. Now, as you go through this process, always keep in mind what's in it for me to change the way I work. Make sure you determine your metrics. Should you send out 1,000 emails a month or 10,000? Should you send out postcards or make phone calls? There's always some set of metrics that you should follow through on, and failure to do that contributes significantly to the poor revenue performance that many MSPs and IT consultants suffer under. Now, the next thing I want you to do is to find a good list broker. There are list brokers listed in every Yellow Pages, and you can find them in Google. Now, what I want you to do once you have that list broker on the phone is tell them that you're interested in buying names, but I don't want you to buy them just yet. What I do want you to do is to request a count. So write that down on your action plan, but you're going to call a list broker, and you're going to ask that list broker for a count of demographically identical companies. Now, the broker should tell you what kind of, the broker should ask you what kind of companies do you want to pursue. You should tell the broker the descriptions of the companies that you have been successful within. As you communicate that to the broker will come back to you and give you a number. Now, I want you to compare that number to the number in your CRM system. I don't care if you're using TigerPaw, ConnectWise, Autotask. What I really care about is how many names are in your database versus how many names are there in the universe or in the marketplace. Many of the MSPs that I've worked with recently have a few hundred names in their database, and they're sitting in the middle of some of the largest metropolitan areas in the United States. Your goal should be to have thousands of names in your database, and I want you to get in touch and stay in touch with all of them and invite them to come to the webinar and the Done For You presentation. As you get a count, I want you to really focus on the small to medium business and those organizations that employ salespeople. The reason I want you to do that is because those are the organizations that probably have the best upside for you because they have mobile computing, they have employees who work remotely, and you could bring cloud solutions, definitely backup solutions, to those companies and help them achieve peace of mind. Now, as you work with that list broker, pay careful attention to the most important component of your lead generation system. It's your database. Now, I don't care if you use ConnectWise, TigerPaw, or Autotask. That's not important to me. What's important is the number of names in your database that are usable. And I refer to that usability as a name that's spelled correctly, a name that has all of the contact information in the correct fields. Many of the databases that I've inspected have phone numbers where the first name should be, for instance. Now, that's a name that's not usable, and it won't help you. Once you have that count and you've compared it to the number of names in your database, make sure that you go after companies that need new business. I find that the companies that have employees called salespeople are very high potential because they are transactional, and your services, especially if you help people get into the cloud, will accelerate the pace at which they conduct their transactions. The companies that need new business are growing, and they need you to work at their side but not on their payroll. If they're out there prospecting, then they will be the people that you want to get after. Make sure, as a rule, that you have at least 10 times the number of names in your database than the number of new customers that you need. For instance, if you need 10 new customers this year, you need to have at least 100 qualified customers. That's the 10x factor. But to get 100 qualified customers, you'll need 1,000 unqualified customers. So we're going to go for that 10 by 10 by 10 to get you to the level of your database that you need to be at. And make sure that they all have email addresses. Now here's the real challenge for you. As we look at the marketplace today, the decision makers have changed dramatically. Today's decision maker, according to Seth Godin, gets 3,000 marketing touches every day. They take 17 phone calls daily. They meet with 4.8 salespeople weekly. Now all of this adds up to a decision maker that's insecure, avoids risk, and won't answer phones. Now stop and think about what we do when we go out and sell, and we ask people who weren't uncomfortable to suddenly evaluate an idea that they can't understand. In other words, you're presenting them with a risk, and they're going to say, well, not now, hold on, too scary, can't do it, no budget, and they'll come up with all of the excuses. Conversely, if you educate them first to the risk of not doing business with you, let me restate that because this is the real key. What does it cost one of your prospects to not do business with you? If you can't answer that, then you don't have a value proposition that enables your customer, your prospect, to see why they should do business with you. So once again, and this is homework, write it down. What is the cost to a prospect of saying no to working with you? If that is an unknown, that's your homework. You have to figure that out. As you're figuring that out, I want you to write an offer. Now, the offer has to be the catchphrases, the value propositions that you're going to put into your ultimate proposal. The best way to write an offer is to go to your existing customers and ask them, why did you buy? What results did they get when they became one of your clients? Now, I want you to quantify that. I don't want you to accept, oh boy, we really like your service. You see, I can't measure that. But if they say, prior to you working with us, our system was down 1 day a month, and it cost us $18,000 every month in downtime, that is something you can hang your hat on. So figure out why they bought, and then use headlines to write your offer. As you pin that offer, make sure that you lock in the issues I've displayed on the screen. If the customers say, so what, they are basically responding to a pitch. Here's how it goes. You say, we are the premier IT service provider in fill in the city's name. And they go, so what? You see, they didn't wake up hoping to do business with you. They didn't wake up saying our IT infrastructure is broken. They're trying to run their business, and they're trying to run their business in a proactive, profitable fashion. Your job should be to help them do that, and you need to do that by driving home these issues. Issue number 1, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. If they are uncomfortable with the status quo, they'll change. POM, peace of mind, that's something they want to go after. All of those things add up to a very successful implementation within your client's company. You see, the facts are your website needs to become a silent salesman. Too many of the VARs, IT consultants that I've worked with have websites that are pretty, but they're not tracking the activity. As you put the link for your webinar onto your website, I want you to add to it a visitor ID tool. I don't care whose you use, but I want to make sure that you know who's coming to your website. And here's why. 84% of new purchases start on the web, but most of those people don't take the time to fill out a form. You're going to be inundating your marketplace with email invitations to come to the webinar. Those emails are going to be reinforced with phone calls, perhaps even with postcards, and more phone calls, and more emails. As we go through the course of the year, I want you to touch everyone multiple times. Now, those people that get the email but don't register for the webinar may be good prospects, especially if the email brought them back to your website. So you should investigate any one of a number of the visitor ID tools and put it on your website. So as we start pushing email out, Some people will come back, but they won't fill out the form. But the fact that they came back to your website says that there's interest in that company, in the services that you offer. After all, nobody's going to come to your website if they're looking for Italian shoes. So the fact that they're there says they are interested in something that you're offering, and that's what I want you to start tracking. Now, a minute or two ago, I talked about 10x, and that's the suspects to the bottom of the funnel. Now, 3x is we're in the funnel now. We have people that we've talked to, and they're ready to buy. Now, your new sales funnel has to be focused on getting the assessment. Here's the biggest mistake that I've seen MSPs and IT consultants make all of the time. We try to go from, hi, how you doing, to let me give you a quote for $50,000. It scares the heck out of them. They don't know if you're trying to be a peddler. You see, peddlers are defined as the men and women who only care about themselves, or a partner. And I want you to position yourself as a partner, because partners make more money, partners get more margin, and partners get respect. As Rodney Dangerfield would say, peddlers don't get no respect, and I don't want you to be a peddler. Excuse the bad imitation and poor comedy. So anyhow, let's focus on having 3 times the number of deals and dollars that we need in the funnel at all times. The best way to get that is to keep pushing the emails out to get people to come to the webinar and or to your website. If you don't have a visitor tool on your website, then you're missing a big chunk of your potential marketplace. I hope that makes some sense to you. Now, as you're building your list, recognize that the best marketing list can never be purchased. It has to be built. I don't care what the list brokers say. They all claim that their data is the best. They all claim that they update their data more often than anybody else, which may be true, but at the end of the day, a good list is going to be 75 to 80% accurate. You heard me. A good list will be 75 to 80% accurate. So I don't want you to go crazy if you have some bad email addresses or bad contact records. That's okay. Many of the list brokers that I've worked with will reimburse their customers if they give them bad names. But regardless, go through your CRM system. Do you have any stagnant contacts in there? You see, a stagnant contact is someone who does not have a scheduled next step. So you can run a report, and the columns will be pretty easy to see those companies, those individuals that have a next step, a phone call, an email, a face-to-face meeting, come to the trade show booth, what have you. Those stagnant contacts need to be invited to the webinar. Make sure there are no typos in your email database. Make sure everything's accurate, and understand that it's going to grow over time. But today, your database, your list, is probably a small percent of the entire universe. And our job is to put control and multiple touches into that market, into that database, to get you where you want to be. Now, as you're going through your database, I want you to recognize there are 2 universes in your world. The first universe I refer to as the known universe. These are the men and women that you currently know, but if you're like the typical MSP, they number in the hundreds, maybe the small thousands. The unknown universe is where the potential is, and that's where we want you to go. That's why the exercise of getting that count is so critical. Now, I have an email literally today on my desk from an MSP asking me, does the count look good? Well, I can't tell because I don't live in that marketplace. But the demographics of the count are far better than that which he had prior to doing this exercise. And so far, he's spent nothing. If you can't spend a nickel or a dime per name with an email address, then you need to think about being in business, to be very candid. But once you have those names, I want you to reach out and touch them every month. Now, in your kit are 12 different emails, and I've written them to be sequenced to go out monthly. These emails go out after a prospect says, not now. So the process is you're going to take the raw list that you buy from any one of the list brokers, and you're going to invite them to come to the webinar. You're going to do this after you put the visitor ID widget, little piece of software, on your website or on the landing page where you're directing them. they will come to that landing page and identify themselves. Now, here's what this exercise does. One of my clients recently sent out 9,000 email invitations. No, he's not a spammer. The software he uses enables him to throttle the pace of those emails going out, so he stays under the radar of the the email service provider that he uses. But anyhow, he sent out 9,000, and he was a little frustrated and a little bit upset. The reason was, out of 9,000, 500 opened the email. And that's great. That's a huge percentage. But none of the 500 actually registered for the webinar. So he was a little bit disappointed. I pointed out that there are 500 people that we now know are interested in some sort of a relationship with a company like yours. Suddenly he perked up a little bit. We didn't know those people 3 days ago. Now we know them. We know their phone numbers and we know their emails. So why don't we start calling them? And guess what? What we encountered was a human interaction, which is they got the email, they said, this is interesting, and they said, I'm going to get around to registering, and they forgot. So by following through, you'll have the benefit of dominating both the known and the unknown universe. As I said earlier, make sure you inspect your CRM system. That CRM system will become your most valuable tool because it houses the names, addresses, and emails of the people that will make you wealthy, if and only if you touch them regularly and you follow through in a systematic approach. Okay, let's start mailing our invitations, and I want you to understand why this process is so powerful. This matrix was actually developed by the Dartnell Sales Institute, and they found that lead minding is very valuable because of a phenomenon that afflicts most salespeople. Now, if you're a seller-doer, your chart probably would look worse than this one. And that's because you're so busy once you have accounts that you can't follow up. But they asked salespeople, how many attempts do you make to get a new account before you quit, before you abandon the account? 90% of the salespeople indicated that they abandoned their effort to get a new account after only 4 attempts. Tragically, those same accounts said they weren't ready to buy until 7 or 8 attempts. And in today's economy, it may be 10 or 12 attempts. So how many times do you go back to a customer before you stop pursuing them? Well, with the tracks that are in those systems, TigerPaw, AutoTask, ConnectWise, I don't care who it is, and the emails that I've prepared for you, you'll have a follow-up every month until they buy or die. Now, literally, I advocate perpetual follow-up. So a year from now, start them back at the beginning. They won't remember the first email. Don't worry about that. Some people have said, but gosh, Gil, we're going to get people upset with us. Well, I'd rather them be upset and know me than not know me and not do business with me. It's a little bit of my method to my madness. Recently, I had a guy that called me, and he was livid and rude. I picked up the phone. He was swearing at me because I had sent him a newsletter inviting him to a webinar, one of mine. And he's going off on me and just yelling and screaming. I said, whoa, hold on. And I said, what's the real problem here? He said, how do I get off of your blank mailing list? I said, it's simple. Buy something. And he wasn't real happy with that, but guess what? He did buy a couple of days later. So it's always best to stay in touch, and I pursue them until they buy or die. Now, the secret sauce of this pursuit is every message that you send out should be educational. So have an educational message, and you'll see that's the way I've written your emails, but put your link to your webinar or in each one of them. Over time, there'll be a compounding effect, and months down the road, you're going to have more leads than you can handle. Let's take a look at the numbers. Let's say you only get 5,000 emails out a month. I send out about 60,000. But 5,000 emails a month, and I'm assuming a 0.1% response. And you're going to offer them 4 different topics or presentations. And you're going to do this twice a month. You will have, at the end of a year, 120 sales-ready leads. Odds are you'll close 30 or 40% of those. So would you send 5,000 emails out 2 times a month. I'm sorry, I said per month, but 5,000 emails 2 times per month over the course of a year, varying the introductions and the topics and titles to get 120 sales-ready leads. Data shows, statistics show, that you'll close 30% of those. So that's 40 new customers. But now here's the power of closed-loop marketing, which I'm going to discuss in just a moment. 40 customers will buy. Let's take those off the table, say hallelujah, have a party, and celebrate. But now you have 80 customers that didn't buy. Dartnell's study and several other studies have shown that 45 to 63% of those 80 will buy within 18 months after they say not now. So although they say not now, no budget, no need, my dog has fleas, whatever the excuse is, I want you to stay in touch with them. Use the marketing messages, use the follow-up tracks so that you will be perpetually in front of them. And here's why. You'll get a deal. You'll get to compete. You'll get an assessment when the issue of trust and timing intersect. You see, they have to trust you, and you're building trust by giving them these educational emails. But the fact of the matter is, when you send out your invitation for the first time, you may hit them at the wrong time. Your timing's bad. So they won't buy. So we can create trust with educational messages, but we never can anticipate their timing, and you certainly can't force timing. So you have to be there when trust and timing intersect. That's the magic intersection where you do business. Too many of us don't have a way to do that. And you see, the beauty of inviting people to webinars is you're not asking them for an appointment. You're not asking them to sell them. You're asking to educate them. And people respond positively when you invest in a relationship before you try to take time and attention and ultimately money from that very same relationship. I've left my screen focused on my core concept, which is action drives results. Getting ready to get ready will send you to the bankruptcy court. You must be focused on doing this, and you must make a commitment to making it happen. I don't want you to let this sit on your hard disk and hope that some magic will occur, because as one of my old bosses said, there ain't no magic, and that's true. Now, some definitions, just so that we can stay on the same page. Now, let's take care of some definitions, just so you and I can stay on the same page. The purpose of this kit is to help you build sales-ready leads. You're going to buy lists of names. Some names will come to you as inquiries from your website. As you start emailing, you'll get more inquiries, but those are not leads, they're inquiries. You have to nurture those leads until they become sales-ready. And the best way to nurture is to send them a monthly educational message. I want you to make sure you hold yourself accountable. Now, if you're a business owner and you have a salesperson or a business development coordinator working for you, you must hold them accountable, because the entire secret sauce of this program is that it must be run consistently. Failure to do it every day will contribute significantly to headaches for you. So now let's get on the phone, because that's where all good things start. The people that have registered for your webinar and are now in your database must be followed up on immediately. I like the fact that all of the products that the industry uses, TigerPaw, ConnectWise, and AutoTask, allow you to put form fills on the website, and as people register for the webinar, their information should go into the database automatically. And the database should be triggered to make a phone call that day. Time kills all leads. It's a cliche, but it's a fact. As soon as they register, call them. Hi, this is Gil. I want to thank you for visiting and taking my webinar. Out of curiosity, what was it that prompted you to watch the webinar? Or, out of curiosity, what was the most important or most impactful statement that came out of that webinar? After all, it's all about boosting your profits, and I look forward to showing you how I can help you boost your profits. Remember, we're not selling IT. We're not selling your expertise. We're not selling your Microsoft certifications. We are selling the fact that you and your team have the potential, underscore potential, to help a company boost its profits. If you're talking to someone who says, I'm not interested in boosting my profits, you probably are talking to someone who won't be in business for very much longer. And if you do land them as an account, make sure they pay cash in advance, or you could be in the collection game sooner than you think. If the customers answer the phone, and remember, voicemail is prevalent today, you may hear them say something that sounds like "not now," "no need," "interesting webinar," "great concepts, but we can't do anything now." That's okay. What has happened that's beneficial is you've captured top-of-mind awareness. You will now be responsible for maintaining top-of-mind awareness, and you do that by putting their name into a monthly newsletter cycle. I don't care how they get the newsletter. I do care that they get it. Some of my clients print their newsletters, old school, and mail it, and it's effective. As a matter of fact, some studies show that a printed newsletter is 38% more effective than an email newsletter. I don't care what you do, but I care that you do it. So when they say "not now" or "send me something," say okay. Don't expect them to place an order. Don't expect them to invite you out. Now remember, you have to watch the Boost Your Profits with Outsourced IT many times, but you will note at the end that I say that we offer an assessment. Remember, I won't say a price, but we offer an assessment to help you determine the degree of improvement and benefit that we can inject into your business. Let's get together at the earliest date possible to determine how much improvement we can produce. So they will be expecting you to call to schedule an assessment. And I would lead with that and refer to the scripts in your kit, because the scripts say, "Hi, this is Gel. Thank you for attending our webinar. I was calling to schedule our preliminary meeting to discuss our assessment." Lead with that, assume they want that, but expect them to say "not now," or something along that line. You see, by nurturing these people, what we're really doing is creating a strategic relationship. And a strategic relationship is all about regular communications with suspects, prospects, and customers. It's a persistent process. It's about creating dialogues. It allows you to demonstrate your capabilities and your value prior to making them or asking them to commit. Okay, it's time for your first meeting. The man or woman that you're about to meet with has viewed the presentation. They're interested in boosting their profits by outsourcing IT. Please notice, I'm not going to pitch technology. One of the mistakes the industry makes is we lead with technological presentations to civilians that can't understand the technology. I've been on hundreds of sales calls with MSPs and IT consultants where they can't resist the urge to brag about their technical certifications. Here's the problem with that. The customer doesn't know if it takes 5 minutes to get certified or 5,000 hours. They don't know if you have to be brilliant to be certified or just show up and pay some sort of a certification fee. So bragging about those things doesn't help you and actually pushes the customer away from you. Your position in the first meeting should be, I don't know whether I can help you or not, but an evaluation, an assessment, an audit, whatever you call it, will prove to both of us the degree to which we can help you. Now, the most important thing for you to get out of your first meeting is what was the compelling event. You see, as I said before, tongue-in-cheek, no one will be visiting your website if they're shopping for Italian shoes, nor will anyone allow you to come out and meet with them if they aren't interested in boosting their profits by outsourcing their IT. And they will hear that message repeatedly during my presentation. Your job's to follow up on that and ask them, of all the things that you heard in the presentation, what was the most compelling? If they say, well, I really like that part where the presenter talked about moving to the cloud, then that's your clue. Talk about the cloud. If they say, we're having the same problems that the presenter talked about in terms of downtime and lack of productivity, that's your clue. Now, what you want to do is look for pain. And as counterintuitive as what I'm about to say actually is, I want you to really focus on this. You look for pain by saying, how does that make you feel? So if they say, well, the most compelling event was that the presenter talked about the fact that we'd have tape backup, and it doesn't sound like tape backup is 100% foolproof. Then your job should be, no, it's not. Matter of fact, studies show that 99% of all tape backups eventually fail. How would you feel if you lost all of your data? How would you feel if you couldn't restore your data? And just wait for them to share the pain. The more pain that they share vis-a-vis the status quo, the easier it will become for you to get an assessment. And once again, remember, I don't want you selling technology, even if you believe the solution is self-evident. It's not self-evident to a civilian, and a civilian wants some discovery. And here's an analogy that will really help you. Let's just pretend you go to a doctor's office, and you walk in and sit down on the table in the doctor's examination room, and the doctor says, "Oh, I see you have a bad disc. I'll fix it. Lay down, I've got a knife handy." If the doctor hasn't asked you any questions, if the doctor hasn't done any measurements or metrics, and he or she diagnoses your pain just by looking at you, and then they recommend something that you perceive to be rather threatening, surgery on an ad hoc basis, you'll probably get up and run out of there faster than an Olympic sprinter. The same thing happens when we sell without diagnosis. You're asking a businessman or woman to make a significant change, a change that engenders some perceived risk, and you're asking them to do that without you doing the homework to prove in advance that when they change, they will get benefit. So it's always ask them, how does that make you feel? That will surface the pain. Based on that, you could then say, how much longer would you like that pain to continue? Assuming I can make that pain go away, how valuable will I be? Let's get our assessment going, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the ability for us to permanently remove that pain which you said you want to avoid. I hope this is making some sense to you. If it's not, feel free to call me. My job is to help you become more successful and more productive. And you have to change the way you conduct your first meeting. Again, and I'm dwelling on this because of its importance, always ask for the compelling event. Of all the things that you heard in the webinar, what was the most impactful? Listen carefully. Ask them, how does that make you feel? How long has it made you feel that way? How much longer do you want that to go on? A few simple questions will help you position yourself as a trusted advisor, and then it becomes relatively easy to sell them an assessment. Now, your fee for the assessment may be nothing, free, or you may charge $1,000 or whatever. I don't care. But an assessment being offered without pain on the table is a waste of everyone's time and money. You'll be able to estimate their cost in terms of hard dollars and soft, and we deal with that later in the proposal, and you'll be in a position to always ask FUD questions. Now, in your sales manager's toolkit, there's an extremely important document called the initial plan. If you don't have one of these toolkits, just send me an email and we'll send it out to you at no additional charge. But most of the people that we've talked to have taken advantage of getting that free toolkit prior to now, so I didn't include it in this particular kit. But I want you to make sure that you have the initial plan in your hands when you're going out to a customer. Now, I know you can't read the screen, but there's 17 questions on this chart that I want you to answer in a plus or minus fashion as you go through that first meeting. If you get all pluses, then it's let's put the pedal to the metal. You've got a highly qualified, very interested prospect. If you have a lot of minuses, you have to slow down. And it's just that simple. Make sure you use that. Now, I've used the term closed-loop marketing several times during today's presentation. Closed-loop marketing is no magic, and it's very simple. All it is sending out an educational email every 30 days. You see, the phenomenon is maintenance on a perpetual basis of top-of-mind awareness. You see, we humans forget information that we don't use with a half-life of about 30 days. So 30 days after you've given a great presentation, that customer will have forgotten half of what you shared with them. 30 days from then, they will have forgotten half of the half. 30 days from then, they've forgotten half of the half of the half, and I'm sure you can see that in next to no time, it's like you were never there. An automated closed-loop marketing system requires no selling time, and remember, if you're a seller-doer, time is precious. It will automatically sequence and send emails that look like you sat down and wrote them. And what you're doing is maintaining top-of-mind awareness. Because remember, timing and trust have to intersect. But if your timing's bad, your trust is worthless. If your trust is worthless, then timing has to come into play. What we want to do is to make sure you touch everybody every month and don't worry about accuracy in terms of trust or timing. Build the trust, maintain the trust, the timing will inevitably come around. So the more names you have in a follow-up closed-loop marketing system, the better off you are. Always touch everybody every month. Now, I've included 12 follow-up emails in your kit for the wait process. The wait process is one that we use when the customers say, wait, hold on, can't do it today. Now, in addition to that, I want you to have some follow-up for the people that request information but no show, people that attend, and people who actually register and no show, as well as the people that didn't register. In other words, let's touch everybody every month. Now, part of self-management, and this is part of the accountability phenomenon that I talked about regarding the seller-doer, is you must manage your activities in order to predict the results. Anything that's not measured can't be managed. And so we're advocates, maniacs, if you will, about measuring the number of phone calls, the number of emails, number of first meetings, number of deals and dollars in the funnel. What this will do is help you gain peace of mind regarding where you're going. Now, I don't want to be negative, and hopefully so far I've been pretty positive, but if you are going to do this, don't make any of the common mistakes. A common mistake is one that I refer to as one and done. Oh, we did a webinar, it doesn't work. Oh, we sent out an emailing, nobody showed up. The key is persistence. Remember, you won't achieve top-of-mind awareness until you've touched their brain 7 times. So when you send out your first invitation, you are 6 invitations away from optimum achievement of top-of-mind awareness. So if you abandon this after 1, you're selling yourself terribly short. When you're talking to prospects, do not use technobabble. If you're a poor presenter, work on your presentation skills, because that first meeting is a make or break point in your relationship with the customer. And if you are uncomfortable in that, then please join Toastmasters. This is an organization that's dedicated to helping professionals gain public speaking skills. When you're meeting with people, don't chit-chat, okay? And never ignore top-of-mind awareness. Now, as you move forward and you've got your plan done because you went to that website that I talked about, I want you to determine your potential, define your shortfall. In other words, here's what I think I can do, here's what I'm doing. Lock in your KPIs and move forward in a sales process-driven fashion. Don't forget to offer your webinar through Google Local AdWords. They're free. And your Google posting could be, learn how to boost your profits by outsourcing IT. So now you're paying nothing, and some people will find you, and those are the people you want anyhow. Google will help you out with that. Determine where you'll be at the end of the year and understand how many more emails or webinar presentations you need to make, how many more people you need to talk to. The key is understanding where you'll be at the end of the year. So let me wind down a little bit by saying the entire process, the entire commitment of this kit is to help you get in touch and stay in touch with all demographically desirable prospects. You have to buy a list from a list broker. There's no way around it. You need thousands of names, not hundreds. You should touch them every month. Integrate phone calls, postcards, emails, what have you. Put a link to your webinar on everything that goes out the door. Promote your webinar with Google local search words and practice your first meetings. And remember, you have to sell an assessment. Whether you charge for it or not, doesn't matter. but you have to give the customer value statements, valuable reasons for them going through with an assessment. Use the Key Frustrations questionnaire, and you'll be able to surface their pain. Well, as always, I wish you good luck and good selling. This is Gil Cargill saying thanks again, and have a great day.